Imagine your entire world just gone. The very center of your universe wiped out. What do you do? How do you even begin to move forward when your whole system has just completely crashed? Well, today we're diving into the incredible story of how an ancient people faced exactly that and pulled off the ultimate reboot. So let's just start with a big question. How do you survive the unsurvivable? And this isn't some abstract thought experiment. For the Jewish people almost 2,000 years ago, this became a very real, very urgent problem that threatened their very existence. You see, to get the scale of this disaster, you have to understand what the Second Temple in Jerusalem really was. It wasn't just a big, beautiful building. For centuries, it was the spiritual epicenter, the political capital. It was the entire operating system for Jewish life, the whole shebang.
And then came the year 70 CE. The Roman army, after this long, brutal revolt, just completely destroyed the temple and flattened Jerusalem. I mean, the sources describe a catastrophe of epic proportions. Some estimates say nearly 2 million people were killed. The survivors? They were scattered, enslaved, or exiled. Just like that, the center was gone. The system had crashed.
And the transformation that happened next was staggering. This slide really shows you the before and after. Before 70 CE, you had a religion centered on one physical place, led by priests, with animal sacrifice at its core. Afterwards, it became something totally new, a faith that could be practiced anywhere, led by scholars called rabbis, centered not on sacrifice, but on prayer, on community, and on studying sacred texts. This was a total reinvention from the ground up. So let's explore that first phase, living in a world without a center. Can you just imagine the shock, the despair? Everything that had defined your people for centuries was literally a pile of ash. And this right here, this captures the brilliant pivot that started to emerge. With the physical building gone, a new kind of center had to be created, one that wasn't built of stone, but of ideas and learning. The spiritual heart of Judaism moved from the temple into the classroom, into the study hall. But okay, how did they even know what to do? Where was the instruction manual for this new version of Judaism? Well, it turns out they had a secret backup plan. Think of it like a cloud backup that no army could ever burn down. This backup was called the Oral Torah. The tradition is that when Moses received the written Torah, the Bible, at Mount Sinai, he also received a massive body of oral explanations. This was the unwritten user's manual, the part that explained how to actually apply all those laws in real, everyday life. And this is the key difference, right? The written Torah might give you the what, like a law about keeping kosher. But the oral Torah gives you the how, all the details, the debates, the practical instructions that make the written law livable. And this wasn't some new idea they just cooked up. The tradition traces this unbroken chain of transmission, which you can see here, all the way back to Sinai. Moses passed it to Joshua, Joshua passed it to the elders, and on for generations. It was the living, breathing conversation about the text. So, you've got the old leadership gone, but you have this ancient backup plan. Now, a new set of heroes had to step up. And these were the sages, who gathered at a little town called Yavneh. And the key figure here, the guy who really gets the ball rolling, is Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai. He saw the writing on the wall during the siege of Jerusalem. He knew that fighting the Romans was a dead end, and the only way for Judaism to survive was to save its knowledge. And the story is just wild. His students literally smuggled him out of the city in a coffin to go negotiate with the Roman general. And instead of asking for power or for land, he asks for one simple thing: give me Yavneh and its sages. And just like that, this small town becomes the new spiritual command center. It acts as the new high court, and it's where the rabbis begin the huge task of adapting Judaism for a world without a temple. But this incredible solution created a new, absolutely terrifying problem. This entire backup system, the Oral Torah, it was all stored in only one place: human memory. And memory, well, it's fragile. This timeline really puts it all into perspective. For over 130 years after the temple was destroyed, this massive, complex library of law and tradition existed only in the minds of scholars. It was passed down from teacher to student, word for word. Talk about pressure. So, what happens when those memories start to fade? What happens when the people who hold all that knowledge are scattered across the world? Or worse, what happens when they're killed?
And the threats were very, very real. The Romans kept up their persecution. Another failed revolt around the year 135 just decimated the community all over again. The great sages, including the famous Rabbi Akiva, were martyred. There was this legitimate, growing fear that the entire intellectual and spiritual inheritance of the Jewish people could just disappear forever. A threat this big required an equally big solution. The time had finally come to create the ultimate survival guide. Enter our final hero, Rabbi Judah the Prince. Around the year 200, he makes a decision that was both radical and honestly super controversial. For centuries, the rule was that you could not write down the Oral Torah. But Judah realized that the risk of forgetting it was now far, far greater than the risk of breaking that tradition. He made the call. And the result of this massive project was a book called the Mishnah. This was it, the first ever written collection of the oral law. It's not a storybook. It's this dense, highly organized code of laws that would become the foundation of Rabbinic Judaism. And when I say organized, I mean it. Rabbi Judah structured the whole thing into 6 major sections or orders, and they cover everything you could possibly think of: agriculture, holidays, civil law, marriage, and even the long-lost temple rituals, preserving them for the future. It was literally a blueprint for Jewish life. Ultimately, the Mishnah basically acted like a time capsule. By writing everything down during this incredibly dangerous period, Rabbi Judah and the sages made sure that the core traditions of Judaism would survive for all future generations, no matter what. And this, right here, captures the ultimate impact. With their land in ruins and their people scattered across the globe, the Mishnah gave the Jewish people a new kind of home. It was a portable homeland, a constitution made of text that they could carry with them anywhere in the world. It's just such a powerful story of resilience and adaptation, isn't it? A story of how a culture staring down total destruction saved itself not with swords, but with words and with ideas. And it kind of leaves us with one final thought. When everything else is stripped away, what ideas are your ultimate survival tool?